With over $10 trillion in assets under management, BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world, dwarfing firms like Vanguard and Fidelity. Recently, Larry Fink, the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, was questioned about all that is now happening in the world of investing. Being the CEO of BlackRock, Larry is undoubtedly someone to pay attention to. Thus, in this video, we'll be focusing on two key issues. First, Larry provides his perspective on everything happening in the financial world as he sees it, and then he moves on to some extremely important news for all cryptocurrency investors by dropping a massive bombshell. First things first, as one of the main messages on this channel, never just copy one single person, but gather several reference points, and who better than the CEO of the largest asset manager in the world? If you do appreciate anything in the video, consider giving it a like. Hi everyone, many great things are going on in the world and the economy. Obviously, it's been in the narrative, and obviously the reality of really elevated inflation, markets that are down 18% in equities, down pretty close to 18% in bonds, the appreciation of the dollar. So there's a whole reset in the marketplace, and the reality the US is feeling much less pain than other parts of the world because of the dollar appreciation, other issues. But I actually believe inflation will be abating very rapidly. Will evade rapidly. Yeah, is it going to go back down to 2%, which is their objective? That's going to be hard, and that's going to be the fundamental issue. Where is an acceptable level of inflation? In my 40-something years of being markets, you would have dreamed for 3 or 4% inflation. So we set this target now at 2%, which can be debated why 2, and I've had conversations on that. My biggest worry is not that we're not going to see a falling of inflation back to 3 or 4%. My biggest worry is the world is losing hope. We have seen a collapse in birth rates and demographics. We're actually going to enter a period of more, what I would call malaise. We're all seeing the transformation of China. China going from what I would have called a very economic-minded economy to a more ideological economy. We're seeing the intended effects on that, and we're seeing a Chinese economy slowing down to a 3. We have the European economy that is really fundamentally changed right now, related to the Russian gas and the cost of energy and the fiscal support by governments. And so I believe after we get out of this real spike in inflation, we're going to be waking up to a world that's going to be a 2-ish, 3% world with maybe 3 or 4% inflation. And I think that's going to be the fundamental issue that we're going to be facing. So, Larry Fink, they're interestingly discussing a major market. Reset high inflation at the European war and dollar appreciation have affected all major asset classes, but he expects that inflation will decline rapidly, and that actually the biggest issue facing markets is the loss of hope. But what does this mean exactly? BlackRock's primary strategy is to draw in long-term investors looking to invest for 10, 20, 30, or 40 years, with the goal of earning 7 to 8% annual return and amassing a sizable retirement nest egg. However, if people lose hope, they'll be less likely to make long-term investments. His greatest concern is a future in which equities and bonds barely return 2%, while inflation is at 4%. And now we have some major cryptocurrency news. In fact, Larry Fink made some rather surprising comments on cryptocurrencies and how they might drastically alter the world of investing. Check this out. I actually believe most of the companies are not going to be around. I still believe that because they're now real. They're frogs. They're what? Well, let's think about FTX. You can look back now. FTX created it. Its failure was its creating its own token. It was not a DeFi. It wasn't a ledger that was open to the world. It was it was not distributed. So the whole foundation of what crypto is, it's supposed to be a distributed ledger that is across the system. I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means while people are investing it for indexing. No, they're the majority of people who are putting money in an index in ETFs or active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities, will be tokenization of securities. We will. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement, and think about it, changes the whole ecosystem. You don't need trust banks. Does that disrupt you eventually because you are custodians? No, we're not a custodian. I mean the transformation. Think about instantaneous settlement. Bonds in stock, no middlemen. We're going to bring down fees even more dramatically. As for me, I don't have to vote on any shares anymore because the beneficial owner will do all the voting. That'll have it, and that's where I want to go with this conversation. I knew I was going to take you there, thank you. So, some very important points being made by Think here. First, he believes that ETFs, which are similar to index funds in that you buy an assortment of companies together rather than taking the risk of investing in just one, are the way of the future. The key observation is that overall ETFs and index funds outperform the vast majority of investors over time, including both professional and retail investors. Now, he says that the tokenization of securities will usher in the new generation of financial markets and that crypto technology will be of utmost importance. Imagine the stock market and bond market being rebuilt onto blockchain rails, eliminating the need for middlemen and allowing code to determine who is buying and selling. As far as we know, this is also immediate settlement, which will fundamentally alter the entire ecosystem. I can now report that Blackrock CEO Larry Fink has finally understood the enormity of what is to come with crypto, and this is likely the reason they just announced the creation of a blockchain ETF and their partnerships with Coinbase for future cryptocurrency custody. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this incredible news from Blackrock, which gives me even more faith that the next crypto bull run will be spectacular. Could you imagine just a few years ago the CEO of BlackRock himself recommending that the global bond and stock markets will be shifted onto cryptocurrency rails? How much bigger news could you expect to get? And it is all coming from the largest asset manager of the world, indirectly giving his tick of approval for the entire sector. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next video, and as always, all the best.